on, boys, time to go, I shout upstairs. Seconds later, they come stampeding down like a herd of wild elephants, each of them holding a jacket in their hand. In the weeks leading up to today, they didn't seem that excited about going. I seemed to be more thrilled about it than they were. But I guess now that the big day is finally here, they've changed their minds. Today is Easter, and we're going to an egg hunt at my job. I work for a large computer programming corporation, but only a select amount of employees were asked if they'd like to participate. A few weeks ago, when I arrived at work, there was an envelope with my name on the front, waiting for me at my desk. As I sat down, I picked it up and asked my coworker Jimmy, who was sitting across from me, "What's this?" He glances up from his computer. "I don't know. Mr. Harrison was handing them out this morning, but I didn't get one. Not everyone did." Then with a smile, he adds, "Maybe it's an invitation to one of those fetish parties I've heard he likes to throw." I shoot him a disgusted look. Ever since I started working here, there's been a rumor going around that the boss has some bizarre fetish. Everyone jokes about it all the time, but no one actually knows what it is. Curious, but nervous at the same time because I don't know what to expect upon opening it, I sit it aside until lunch. I was thinking it could be a termination letter or something because Mr. Harrison overheard a group of us talking last week in the break room, and it just so happened to be one of the times that we were joking about him and his fetish again. I can't be sure that he heard exactly what was said, but if he did, that would explain this letter. But after opening it later that afternoon, I breathed a sigh of relief when I realized it was just an invitation to attend an Easter egg hunt that the company was holding in a few weeks. And the reason that not all of the employees received one was because only the ones who had children had been asked to come. And I'm not sure why, but for some reason, I was really excited about it. But when I first told my two boys, Isaac and Oliver, they didn't seem very interested in going. Isaac is 7, and usually he loves anything that has to do with Easter. But as soon as his big brother Oliver, who is 11, said that it sounded stupid and babyish, that quickly changed his mind. Isaac looks up to his big brother and is going through that stage where he thinks absolutely any and everything that Oliver says, thinks, or does just has to be right. I told him too bad that I had already signed us up so we were going, and he's been pouting about it ever since. Until today. I'm not sure what changed his mind, but I'm happy to be getting the chance to spend the day with my boys. Their mother and I are divorced, so I only get to see them on the weekends, and when I work Saturdays, which is every other week, I only get to see them on Sundays. I hate only seeing them 1 or 2 days a week, but what can I do? I mean, I've got to work and make a living too. We pull up in front of the massive 10-story office building that I work in. "Wow, this is where you work, Dad?" Isaac asks in amazement. "Sure is, bud. Well, I work mainly on the 6th floor, but my company owns this entire building." "This is so cool, isn't it, Oliver?" "Yeah, I guess so," he replies, not even taking his eyes off of his Nintendo Switch. I get a parking space right up front, which I'm not used to seeing the parking lot so deserted. The only people that are here are the staff helping with the egg hunt and the people who are attending. It's weird seeing it so empty. As we approach the building, I can see that there's a line coming out the door of people waiting to sign in. We get in line, and while we're waiting, the boys talk to some of the other kids as I look around, admiring all of the decorations. Growing up in my house, Easter was never really one of those big holidays that we celebrated. My mom would always make ham for dinner, and there'd be a basket full of candy and goodies waiting for me when I woke up. But we never went to church, decorated, got all dressed up, or anything like that. The doors and windows at the entrance to the building are covered with multicolor bunny, chick, and egg decals that stick to the glass. When we finally get inside, there's a huge banner that goes from one corner of the lobby all the way to the other, wishing everyone a happy Easter. Isaac and Oliver immediately race across the lobby to the table full of treats. "Whoa, take it easy, boys. You haven't had any lunch yet." "Oh, come on, Dad, just one," Isaac begs, giving me the puppy dog eyes that he knows I have a very difficult time saying no to. "All right, just one," I tell them, giving in. I watch as Isaac grabs a Rice Krispie treat full of M&Ms, and Oliver takes a chocolate brownie shaped and decorated to look just like an Easter egg. Across the lobby, sitting on a bench in the middle of an Easter display, is my coworker Harvey, dressed up as the Easter Bunny. He waves in my direction, and I wave back as I start to chuckle, knowing that he's pissed off under there. He's been complaining for the last couple of days, ever since the boss told him the news that he'd been chosen to be the Easter Bunny this year, which means he'll have to spend the entire day in that hot-ass costume taking pictures with little kids who are most likely terrified of him. I walk over to the receptionist's desk to sign us in, and then she hands me 3 necklaces with a rainbow string rope to hang around our necks, and each one has a different colored egg with our name and age on it. "Oh, I'm not participating," I tell the woman, and then try to hand mine back over the desk to her. With a stern look, she tells me, "Everyone must participate. Those are the rules." I walk away, my face flushed, feeling like I've just been scolded by my mother. I place mine around my neck and then give the boys theirs. After waiting around, chit-chatting with the other attendees, and the boys scarfing down a few more snacks, my boss, Mr. Harrison, walks out and announces that the egg hunt is about to begin. Everyone will be escorted up to the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors of the building in the elevators. All other floors are off limits except for those 3. We ask that you please remain on the same floor you were dropped off on for the entire time. If you're caught by security on another floor, you'll be asked to leave the premises. These are some pretty strict rules for a kid's game, I whisper to my coworker Jimmy, who's standing right next to me. Sounds just like the boss to me. You know everything's always strict around here. No surprise he isn't giving our kids a break. Then Mr. Harrison continues. The hunt will last for approximately 1 hour, and then at that time we will reconvene down here in the lobby so that everyone can accept their prizes. Once he's finished explaining all of the rules, about 10 people who are sporting t-shirts with the company name and logo on them and a pair of bunny ears start walking around handing out bags. I'm guessing to put all of the eggs that we collect in. There's a complimentary pack of Peeps and a bag of Starburst jelly beans inside of each one. I grip Isaac's hand tightly as we make our way onto the elevator. "Stay close," I tell Oliver. We're dropped off on the 9th floor with a bunch of other people. A man who works in the computer repair department named Chuck Olson and his 3 kids, all little girls, who look to be about 3, 8, and 11. A couple. I recognize the woman, but only know her by her first name, which is Helen. She works in computer sales. She introduces the man she's with as her husband, and there is also a little boy with them who looks to be maybe 5, who Helen tells us is her grandson. Then there's a young brunette woman that I don't recognize, and holding on tightly to each of her hands is a little boy, who I'd say is probably the same age as Isaac, and a girl who every time I glance in her direction is smiling over at Oliver. I introduce myself to her. She tells me that her name is Joanna and that her husband works for the company, but he couldn't make it today because he wasn't feeling well. And last is an older gentleman who I believe I've seen before working down in the lobby collecting garbage. I think he's a janitor. His name is Carl, and with him is a boy who looks a little older than the rest of the kids. Or maybe I'm just thinking that because he's rather tall. Carl introduces the boy as his stepson. As soon as we get off of the elevator, Oliver goes darting away from me, looking for eggs. "Oliver, I told you to stay close," I shout after him, but he's already gone. I don't chase after him because I figure why not let him have some fun? I mean, how much trouble could he really get into? And I'm sure we'll run into him sooner or later. The floor that we get off on is full of hallways and offices with cubicles and desks. It looks pretty similar to the floor I work on, but I've never been up here before. I've never been to the 8th or 10th floor either. Come to think of it, I'm not sure what the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors are even used for. I can't think of anyone that I know who works up here. "Come on, Dad, this way. I think I see something over there," Isaac says, pulling me in the direction that he wants to go. So I follow behind him, letting him lead the way. We walk past Chuck and his daughters toward the spot that Isaac has his eye on, which is over in the corner of the room we're in. But once we make it there, he doesn't find anything. "Hey, bud, come on, let's keep looking." "But I swear I saw something over here." "Maybe you did, and someone else just got to it before you. Come on, there are plenty of other places to look." So we continue searching, but after 20 minutes, we still haven't found any Easter eggs yet. "Maybe we should go to one of the other floors," Isaac complains. Bud, you heard the rules. We have to stay up here the whole time. Anyway, I'm sure by now half of the eggs have already been found. And where is Oliver? I thought we would have run into each other by now. Just then, Helen, her husband, and grandson come walking past. Have you guys found anything yet? Isaac asks. No, nothing. What about you? The little boy questions in return. No, I can't find a single egg. Well, let's keep looking, Vincent. I'm sure they're around here somewhere, Helen tells the boy. Before they walk off, I ask, have you seen my other son? He's off running around here somewhere by himself. The last time I saw him, he was over near the elevators, she replies with a smile. Immediately, I start thinking, I hope he didn't try to sneak off to another floor. I grab Isaac by the hand and start dragging him over to where we got off of the elevator. This is stupid, just like Oliver said it would be. I ignore his complaining, and as we approach the elevators, I start shouting for Oliver, but I get no response. Then as I'm about to walk away, the elevator suddenly dings, alerting us that someone is about to get off. I stand there, waiting to see if it's him. But when the doors open, the sight that I see before me is more terrifying than one can ever imagine. Daddy, what are those things? Isaac nervously asks. There's a woman on her knees crying, and her hands are tied behind her back. Not saying a word, I pick him up and just stand there for a second, waiting to see if this is some kind of a sick joke. But when I see one of them pull a knife from behind its back and then plunge it into the head of the woman who arrived in the elevator with them, and then take the Easter egg necklace from around her neck and place it around theirs, I immediately know that that's not the case, and I start running. My heart is beating out of my chest, as the only things racing through my mind right now are, this is insane, where's Oliver, and how are we going to get out of here? I dive beneath the first desk I see as terrified screams ring out. I can still see the elevators from where we're hiding. The two of them step out of it, looking exactly alike, except that one has yellow fur and the other has pink. The pink one, whose fur is splattered with specks of blood, turns and pulls the knife from the woman's skull. The screams grow louder as the one with yellow fur starts making its way forward with its paws outstretched like it wants a hug. Chuck, frozen there in fear, holds his three daughters tightly as they scream and squeeze their eyes shut. I want to go out there and help them, but I don't know what I could possibly do. So I do the only thing that I can. I just hold Isaac in my arms. He's shaking uncontrollably, and now he started to cry. I place my clammy hand over his mouth. I'm trying to stay calm right now, but I'm sweating with fear the closer I see them getting to Chuck and his girls. I can feel Isaac's tears as they stream quietly from his eyes, down his cheeks, onto my hand. Shh, I whisper into his ear. He quiets down just a little as we continue to crouch together under the desk, just waiting, not knowing what's about to occur. Daddy, is that Easter bunny going to hurt those kids? Isaac whispers. No, I answer, turning his head toward me. I bury it into my chest, trying my best to cover his eyes as well as his ears. Then suddenly, I hear Chuck yell. He tells his girls to run, and then he takes a step toward the bunnies to distract them while the girls get away. As they run past, I try to get their attention to tell them to come hide with us, but they're screaming so loud that they don't even hear me. Then the yellow bunny knocks Chuck to the ground and starts making its way over in our direction. And when it stops abruptly right in front of where we're hiding, my heart skips a beat. I thought those things looked terrifying when I first saw them coming out of the elevator, but seeing it now, so close up, is even more petrifying than seeing it from afar. It's obviously a person in a costume. It looks kind of like a mascot. They both have matted, bloody patches of fur, and this whole time I've only seen them walking around. But now the pink one is over by the elevator on all fours, hopping. When the girls scream again, the yellow one goes racing off in the direction that the screams just came from. Once it's gone, I'm finally able to breathe again, and now I glance back over at Chuck when I hear him let out an agonizing shriek. He's crawling across the floor, trying to get away. While I was watching what the yellow bunny was doing, the pink one chopped one of Chuck's legs off with an axe. but he doesn't get too far before it reaches out and grabs him by the other leg. He screams in pain as it drags him across the floor. Then, in one swift motion, it just raises the axe into the air and then brings it down, chopping his head clean off, and it goes rolling across the floor. Blood starts gushing everywhere. Then the rabbit crouches down, takes one of his gloves off, and lifts the head of its costume just enough to stick his head out, and he wipes his finger in the blood, and then brings it to his mouth to taste it. After a few licks, he lowers the head of the costume, puts his glove back on, and then takes Chuck's Easter egg necklace before getting up and walking down the hall, swinging the axe. Only then do I pull Isaac's face out of my chest. He looks up at me with a look of terror in his eyes and whispers, "What if they got Oliver?" "Oh, buddy, don't worry. They didn't get him." "How do you know? We can't find him," he reminds me. "That's what we're going to do now," I say as I crawl out from under the desk first and then hold out my hand to him. He takes it and climbs out. "This way," I say, pointing to the left. That's the way Chuck's daughters went running, and I kind of feel an obligation to try to find them too. They need someone to protect them and to get them home safely now that he's gone. As we go walking through the corridor leading into the next room, I hear someone whisper my name. I pull Isaac closer and look around, trying to find where it's coming from, and after a few seconds, I spot Helen, her husband, and grandson, all squeezed tightly together, hiding behind the printer and fax machine. "You haven't found your son yet?" she asks, with a worried look on her face. I shake my head. "Come on, Helen, let's go. We've got to get out of here. Did you see those things?" Her husband interrupts. "Yes, I saw them, Joe. I was with you the whole time, wasn't I?" "Well, what in the world do you think is going on?" "The hell if I know." "I do. One of them killed Chuck," I reveal. Helen's eyes grow wide with fear. "What about his poor daughters? Please, tell me they're not." "No, they got away. I'm going to go try to find them too." "We'll help," she offers. "Helen, are you senile? We have Vincent to worry about," her husband reminds her. "You think I don't know that, Joe? But what are we going to do? Hide here until we're the only ones left? We should stick together. The more of us there are, the chances are better that we can take them out." "Grandpa, she's right, you know," their grandson Vincent replies. He gives the boy a look like, "Don't speak unless you're spoken to." I know that look well. My mother gave it to me a lot when I was a kid. We walk in a single file line through the corridor into the next room. I quickly scan the area, which looks like a break room, for any sign of the bunnies. When I don't see or hear anything, we keep going. "Oliver," I whisper. After searching the room for him and not finding him anywhere, I realize that Helen's husband is now gone. "Where's Joe?" She turns to look behind her. "God damn it. Don't worry, I'll go find him. Can Vincent stay here with you?" "Sure." Then she leaves, walking back down the corridor that we just came through. "Come on, let's keep looking for Oliver," I tell Isaac and Vincent. They follow close behind me as we make our way around the corner, and that's when we hear a blood-curdling scream that stops us in our tracks. "I think that was my grandma," Vincent cries. "Stay here," I tell the two of them. Then I hide them in a closet and race to locate Helen. When I get back over to where the elevators are, that's where I find her, but she's not alone. The yellow rabbit is crouched over Chuck's dead corpse in the process of carving out one of his eyes with a knife, and the pink one is closing in on her. As it inches closer and closer, it prepares to lunge, and at that moment, Helen starts backing up so fast, not even realizing the conference room wall of glass windows behind her. I shout her name, trying to warn her, but she goes crashing through one of them. I'm fairly certain she's dead because I can see a large shard of glass is sticking out of her neck. The pink rabbit walks over to her and stands over her lifeless body, laughing with satisfaction. Then out of nowhere, Helen's husband comes charging out of the shadows and tackles the bastard to the ground. He might be an old man, but by the way he just tackled him, I can tell that he still has a lot of strength. The yellow rabbit gets up and starts rushing toward Joe as I think to myself, it's now or never. And right before he stabs him, I race forward and tackle him right through the other pane of glass. I'm still on top of him, and I just keep pounding his oversized mask again and again. He swings the knife he has in his hand, but I catch his arm and slam it to the ground, crushing it against the glass shards already lying beneath us. Then I continue to repeatedly punch him with my other hand, feeling a burning sensation from my arm starting to get tired. When I feel the knife loosen in his hand, I grab it and lift it high in the air with both hands, ready to end this. And right before I strike, I notice that his mask is slightly lifted off of his face with his mouth wide open, not moving. When I see that, it stops me, and I pull off the rest of the mask and see that he's no longer breathing. That's when I realize I recognize this guy, but I just can't recall from where. Then I hear a gasp and look over to see Joe sitting atop the pink bunny, still in control of the situation. I get up and give the yellow rabbit's body one last kick, which causes it to turn slightly, and I get a glimpse of a shard of glass stuck in his back. I'm guessing that's what killed him. It probably just took him a little while to bleed out. I stagger over a few steps to where Joe is. "Did you kill him?" I ask when I see the pink bunny lying still on the ground with its blank face staring up at the ceiling. That's when I put my hand on Joe's shoulder and he tilts back, and then I see a knife plunged right through his chest. As he takes his last breath and collapses to the ground, the bunny starts getting up and says, "Well, that old codger still had some gas left in the tank, didn't he?" Then he pulls the knife from his chest and takes his necklace. Then he walks over to Helen and takes hers as well. Last, he walks up to his bunny friend that I just killed and takes all of the necklaces draped around his neck. Then he turns toward me. My eyes lock with his gigantic plastic ones as I start backing up and he slowly comes toward me. When suddenly, there's a loud crash overhead from the floor above and panicked screams ring out. While that temporarily distracts him, I turn and go racing back through the corridor and then slam and lock the door behind me when I make it into the next room. I rush over and find Isaac and Vincent right where I left them, hidden in the closet before I left searching for Helen. "Where are they? Where are my grandparents?" Vincent asks. "I couldn't find them," I tell him, unable to say what really happened. "But those things, they're coming, so we have to get out of here and go find Oliver." As we go running into the next area, which is a small kitchen, suddenly one of the cabinets just busts open and Oliver comes racing over and leaps into my arms. "I thought you were one of them for a second," he cries. Then he turns back toward the cabinets and says, "It's okay, you guys can come out now." A moment later, I breathe a huge sigh of relief when Chuck's 3 daughters climb out and make their way over. "Do you know where our daddy is?" the youngest one asks. Holding back tears, I answer, "No, honey, but he told me that if he got separated from you guys to make sure that you got back home to your mommy safe and sound." Then I turn to Oliver. "Have you seen anyone else? What about the woman that was on the elevator with us? I think her name was Joanna. The one with the 2 kids, a little girl and boy." He lowers his head. "Oliver, what? Did you see them or not?" Then he nods and whispers, "They're dead. All of them. Those monsters pretending to be the Easter bunnies, they killed them. They chopped them up into pieces. Then they took their Easter egg necklaces. I saw another one of them do that too. I'm sorry you had to see that, bud." Almost instinctively, as if we all just got the same idea, we take off our necklaces and throw them to the ground. "What about the older man? I forget his name, but he was the one with the boy. Did you see them?" "The boy, his name is Kevin. He snuck down to one of the other floors right after we got dropped off. He asked me if I wanted to go, but I said no. Then I saw his dad a little while later, and he wanted to know if I knew where he was. So I told him, and then he went looking for him. But I don't know if they ever came back up." Just then, I hear the handle to the door jiggle like someone's trying to get in, and a second later there's pounding on the door like they're trying to break through it. One of the girls lets out a slight cry, and then the pounding suddenly stops, and someone on the other side of the door shouts, Let me in, my little Easter eggs. I'm gonna hunt down every last one of you. As terrified looks spread across all of the kids' faces, I tell them, all right, everyone listen to me very carefully. Each of you grab a hold of someone's hand, and whatever you do, don't let go. We're going to get out of here now. But how? Oliver asks. The elevators aren't working. I checked when I was over there before I found a place to hide. So we'll go down the back stairs then. They'll take us all the way down to the lobby. Well, what if those things are down there too? Damn it, Oliver, I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get down there. I don't know why you're getting mad at me. I'm sorry. No, you're absolutely right. There could be more of them down there. They could be anywhere. But I don't want you to worry. I'll think of a plan in case we run into one of them. Okay, he answers. So we make our way through the kitchen, all the way to the back where the door leading downstairs is. I peek my head through first, and once I see that the coast is clear, I usher all of the kids through. They race down the stairs behind me, hand in hand, stopping only once to rest for a few minutes when we're about halfway down to the bottom. When we make it to the first floor, I peek out of the small rectangular window on the door. That's when I see another bunny, a lime green one, carrying a machete. It appears to be patrolling the lobby. And hanging from its neck are more Easter egg necklaces than I can even count, more than I saw any other rabbit with. I can see a bunch of dead bodies on the ground of other people who I'm thinking tried to escape. I tell the kids to stay there, and then I quietly open the door and creep around the corner, keeping my eyes on him, but at the same time checking to see if there are any others. When I see that he's the only one, I grab the first thing I find that can be used as a weapon, a fire extinguisher hanging on the wall. Then I go racing toward him and smash it into the back of his head. It catches him off guard, and he collapses momentarily, but then he leaps right back up and swings the machete at me. Show your face, you coward. Why are you hiding under that mask? He chuckles. Oh, this is funny to you? Killing innocent people and scaring children half to death? He nods his oversized head. You're sick. You need help. He nods his head again. Then he looks over and sees lights flashing as police cars start to enter the parking lot. Then unexpectedly, he just lifts the head of the costume, revealing his face, which turns out to be my boss, Mr. Harrison. I stand there in shock and disbelief as he tells me, so this is it. I stare at him confused, not understanding what he means. This is my fetish that everyone is always talking about. He pauses when he notices the look on my face. Oh yes, I know everybody talks and whispers about me. Me and some of my other high-ranking associates, we like to kill people. Kids and adults, innocent or not, it doesn't really matter to us. I stand there stunned at the fact that he said it so nonchalantly, like we're just having a conversation over dinner. What in the hell is wrong with you? I ask. I've seen a lot of things in my days, lived my life to the fullest, and did everything a man can do, so nothing quite excites me anymore, like seeing someone fighting for their life. It just gets my blood pumping. And all it took was one car accident years ago, where I ran someone over and they died. Naturally, I won the case due to all of my contacts, but it opened up a whole new world of excitement for me. I was starting to feel stagnant, like there was nothing left out there for me to see or enjoy, but it just revitalized me. And come to find out, a lot of my colleagues felt the same way. Colleagues? Wait, I remember now. The Pink Bunny. Was that Mr. Warren, the CEO from our sister company? Yes, it was. But unfortunately, one of my contacts with the police informed me that the feds are on to us. They found out what we've been doing, and they're closing in. I didn't know exactly when they were coming. All I was told was that I probably had until around Easter, because they wanted to make sure they had a strong case against me, dotting all their I's and crossing all of their T's. Because they know my contacts are on high, and I would most likely fight my way out of it. But from what my contact tells me, once they're finished with me, there's nothing I will be able to do to get out of it this time. So, armed with that new information, I told my associates, and we all had the same idea to throw one final hoorah on the last holiday to celebrate as free men. Just then, the cops bust down the doors and come charging into the building. As he hears them say freeze and red dots light up his bunny suit like a Christmas sweater, he puts down the machete and raises his hands into the air as they tackle him to the ground. Once they cuff him and pull him to his feet, the kids come running out into the lobby, dashing toward me and the officers. As they grab a hold of me tightly, Mr. Harrison says to me, "Congratulations. I guess you won the Easter egg hunt." And who knows, perhaps my contact was wrong. After all, he doesn't know exactly how high my reach extends. And if everything in court goes well, then maybe we can do this again sometime. Don't forget to subscribe for new stories weekly. See you next time on
Nina's Nightmares.
Really? You're supposed to click the like button, not me. Ugh.